Hey, it's already been a week since the last journal, which not really surprised since I do tend to kind of fall out of routines pretty consistently after probably a week or so. But I figured I might as well start this back up since I think I've kind of had enough of just the things that have been kind of stuck on my mind for quite a while. I think the first thing was kind of how I want to structure these journals. Decided to kind of forego recording my mile time since I want to put more emphasis on like what I kind of have to rant about rather than how well I did on today's run or whatever. I will still do that, and I haven't really been doing that for the past week either, since I still enjoy my time just running out. But I'd rather use that as a time to kind of clear my thoughts and then be able to kind of refocus on what I had to say for these things. Second thing is probably the main things that have been kind of stuck in my mind, which for me is kind of just seeing how things aren't really as, I guess, stable as I would like them to be. So I do feel pretty uncomfortable with kind of the things going on right now. I think two things in particular are probably, well, first thing would probably be kind of all of the compounding issues going on with America. I know I talked about this probably before in a previous video, but basically I kind of just feel like they all kind of are related in one way or another to the current pandemic that we're going through. And our response to it, I will admit, isn't particularly great. That's kind of putting it nicely, honestly. I think that there are too many people who are particularly vocal about wanting to not follow the guidelines. Not really enough people to really kind of argue against why these guidelines are important to follow. I think some of the most important guidelines would probably be making sure you're always having proper hygiene. So washing your hands are probably like 20-30 seconds, though I'd probably shoot for 30 seconds, honestly. Wearing a mask or a proper cover for your nose and your mouth so that we reduce basically the spread of any airborne molecules, I believe. Not really sure of all the science behind it since I'm only got like a very surface level knowledge of it. But basically covering up the nose and mouth would prevent like less spread of like kind of airborne molecules to kind of infect others with COVID-19. And just following the other guidelines that so many other institutions kind of laid down, such as trying to limit the amount of people within like a certain gathering. Not sure if that limit has been raised by greater than 10, but I believe that it is still 10 or less. If possible, of course. But I'm not the expert here, so wouldn't recommend asking me. I think the second thing, though, is kind of hearing what's been going on in several sections of the video gaming community. Basically in this past month, or at least the past few weeks, there have been many accusations against so many people who so many people look up to, but basically they've been accused of doing completely horrible things against women, children under 18 years of age, and basically the minorities, honestly. Hearing those things really kind of hurts my trust, honestly, with kind of following just the community as a general. Because when I think about how I used to think of those people before hearing those accusations, I did think of them as inherently good people because they inherently, I guess, produce good content or were particularly good entertainment. But just hearing the horrible things that they've kind of done against other people, which I'm not going to state because I'm very unsure of who's watching this, and also these journals are still going to be public. So I'm going to possibly maybe include another rant that will probably be restricted for people above age 18, though I feel like people who are under 18 would probably still try to find a way to kind of circumvent that, but still holding that restriction for myself, but also not completely holding it, actually kind of provides me at least some room to kind of at least just talk about it. And also, I don't think the 5-minute video limit really mattered anyways, mainly because not many people really watching it, and truth be told, I think the only person I expect to really watch these videos are myself, honestly. So, but anyways, back to kind of my viewpoints on kind of everything that's been going on in the community. It kind of sucks. No, more than that. It really sucks. It really sucks just seeing that very few people who have been accused, I guess, have been kind of just hiding it under the rug for several years, honestly, because these accusations have gone back probably at least from the past decade, or even before times when I was born. So, just to give you some retrospect on kind of just the sheer amount of accusations, because if you just look up video game accusations, there's a lot. There's a lot. And this comes from people of like varying fame, I guess, whether it be professional players, people who are organizing kind of tournaments and stuff, and people who are kind of commenting about kind of what's going on in the community. It's not great, honestly, and admittedly I've been using Twitter a lot more, just to kind of follow and kind of pick up more information from everything that I could kind of learn, and just seeing all of the comments as a result of kind of me collecting all that information, not necessarily me kind of responding to it, since I feel like reading all of it kind of makes me have to reread it so I can kind of understand it in the greater context of like the whole accusation. Just really overwhelms me. And I'm really grateful for the people who have at least, even though they aren't necessarily involved with the accusations, are still kind of acting as a third party, trying to kind of provide a perspective that's relatively unbiased, or at least as objective as they can, while also providing some recommendations for other people if they want to kind of learn more, which is nice, honestly, because it allows me to kind of just think about about the people behind the accused. And for very few who have decided to own up to their actions and chosen to follow a path that hopefully will lead them to be a better person, even if it means that they had to cut ties with the whole video gaming community and possibly the rest of society, since they will basically kind of have to be stuck with a label that will basically label them as a bad name for probably the rest of their lives, if not past that. But most people aren't like that. People have a reputation to keep up, and it's a possibility that people might just come back hoping that everything will just be swept under the rug once again, but I think with all the discussion that's been going on, I really think that's unlikely. Even though that these aren't the first incidents that have really been brought up in the history of just the video game community in general, I think this particular time is pretty damn important for the video gaming community, mainly because we really need to kind of reflect on how to prevent incidents like these from happening again. And I might not be a voice to really decide that, but hopefully other people will be able to continue discussions like these, and hopefully we'll find a solution to kind of overcome the current issues at hand. I don't think that talking through every single thing on my mind will necessarily resolve them, but it definitely helps me clarify kind of things that have been going on my mind. And I will admit, probably slipped out a few curse words, but I really need this. I really need this emotional release. Okay, well, hopefully I can continue this for the rest of the month. And hopefully I can foresee something different to happen after the end of the month, since I find it highly unlikely I'll keep doing these video journals, since I have several concerns about that, which we'll talk about at the end of the month. Well, I will see you tomorrow then, with whatever the next thing's on my mind. Bye.